Morning, guys. I want to share with you today an idea I got from Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it is the idea of living a principle-centered life. To me, this has helped me out so much, and I hope it helps you. This is something that I believe will allow us to deal with the complexities of change that happen outside of us. See, if we have, even in that one word, and you see me talking about my one word, determination, every one word which is revolving around a truth principle will eventually connect and converge with other truth principles. These things last, they've lasted forever. And if we can find our one word, that one thing that is in our life that we know we're drawn to and we can follow, if we're centered around even one correct principle, nothing outside of us, not people, not circumstances, not anything can take away our freedom, peace, and happiness. Have a great day, everybody.
Never be afraid to fail. Entrepreneurs never fail. Their ideas may or may not work. And you know what entrepreneurs do? They pivot, right? Pivot is a way of saying, I have found a stepping stone to even bigger success. So the way you do that is always never let the ideas that has not worked become the failure of a person. You as a person becomes better every time. And the more have you failed, the more arrows you have back. So after the third time, you can go to anyone and say, sir, I am the right CEO because I know exactly what not to do 3 times over.
It's only a failure if you quit. It only counts as a failure if you stop. If you've got a big goal, a big dream, a big ambition, and you want to chase it down and it doesn't work out on the first try or the second try or the third try, if you keep going, eventually you'll figure it out. This is the path of all successful entrepreneurs. Like if you keep going, you keep putting one foot in front of the other, eventually it will work out. It's why a lot of entrepreneurs will preach patience, because most people quit too soon. Most people, they overestimate what they can get done in a short amount of time and underestimate what they can get done over a long amount of time, and they just quit too soon. You don't allow enough time for momentum to actually take hold. And so it's only really a failure if you stop. People ask me about my videos and my YouTube channel, and there's a couple angles on this. The first is how long it took me to get going. If you look at my growth on my channel, my homepage, you can see how long it took me to get going. It took 5 years and I still had 7,000 subscribers or something like that. And the only thing that I had going for me was that I just did not stop. I was introverted and shy. I still am. I didn't know how to make videos. I was very uncomfortable in front of the camera. I was completely embarrassed by my own stuff. The first 350 videos I couldn't watch back. Couldn't watch myself back. I was too critical of myself, too embarrassed that I was putting this out. Too hard on myself that it wasn't good enough and that I wasn't delivering value, and just nitpicking myself so many times on the videos that I just couldn't watch them back. 350 videos, public videos on my channel before I was not just completely embarrassed by myself, and then 700 before I inspired myself. Like, oh, you know what? I'm like, oh, it's pretty good. I have one that I'm happy with after 700 public videos. So most people just quit too soon. The only thing I had going for me, I didn't have the skills, I didn't have the personality, I was not funny, I didn't have the editing capabilities, I didn't have the camera, the technical capabilities. The only thing I had going for me was that I kept going. I had the heart, I wanted to serve, and I just kept going. I just kept creating, I just kept making, and now we're here. You know, started from the bottom, now we're here. Now we're here. But it took a long time to get going. And most people who probably have more natural abilities, more camera presence, more humor, more fun, they could have been way ahead of me. Not that it's a competition, but they could have had success. But they didn't, because they stopped. They quit. And I'm reminded of a great one-on-one I did with Adam. He was an entrepreneur I met in Orlando, and we met early on in my YouTube career, and he was building up his channel, I was building up mine, and he told me he was going to be the next Gary V, and I loved it. Like, I'm gonna keep going and building my channel. I don't necessarily want to be like the next anybody, but I'm gonna keep building my channel. And I kind of forgot about that meeting for a while, and he posted on his Instagram years later of a picture of us that we took from that day in Florida. And he said, a number of years ago, I met Evan Carmichael. I told him I was going to be the next Gary Vee, and he said he was going to keep making his content too. And Evan went on and kept making his content, and I stopped. And now I'm going to get back on the horse and do it. And that was the only difference. Like, Adam has more charisma than me, and more camera presence, and beautiful videos, and energy, and just as much heart. The only difference was I just did not stop. And I think that's what's missing for most people, just momentum. Just, you're stopping. We're not constantly creating because you're afraid of failure. And some of the things that have helped me, that maybe can help you to not quit and to keep going on this journey, is when people ask me, well, that video failed, how does that make you feel? I don't focus on it because I'm worried about the next one. You know, if you're constantly moving forward, then each individual thing you do becomes less important. There's a friend of mine who put so much effort and so much time and so much love into making one video, and so much production effort. It's just insane. It looks beautiful. It's beautiful. It took him and his team about a month to make, and that was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and he hasn't released one since. And like, dude, it's not even about the production quality. Inside of Thought Leadership and Education, it's about the message. You just keep going and keep making. And he stopped because he wanted everything to be perfect and look as beautiful as that one. It's the most successful video that he's done recently on his channel, but it didn't have 10x the amount of success. You know, it didn't blow up his channel. And that's what he was hoping that it would do. And when we put so much pressure on this one thing having to be so good and win, then if it doesn't, we feel like a failure, and so we stop. Where the answer is, I don't care about that. I mean, do I want this video right here to win? Yes. Do I want this video to touch 1 million lives? Yes. Will it? I don't know. Based off of historics on this channel, probably not. But who knows? Maybe this is the one that it busts through. But I'm not so caught up on this video. I want to do my best for this video. I want to show up as best as I can. I want to give you my best advice, my best energy as much as I can. And then after I press, stop on the recording and give it to Christina, who's going to do an amazing job editing it. We love you, Christina. Then I'm on to the next video. And I'm not as attached to how well this one does for my own self-worth, because I'm always making the next one. And so if you stop creating and you're just so focused on what the last thing did and how unsuccessful it was, then you get caught in this negative death spiral where it's just, oh, it didn't do well, so I'm going to stop. And then maybe the next one won't do so well, and just overthinking, over planning, over analyzing instead of just doing. And so I keep going because I've got the next video to worry about. So I care less about how well the last one did. It's an easy way to continue the momentum because you're worried about what's coming up next as opposed to what used to be. The second thing that I did that really helped me was just focus on who I am serving instead of who I'm not. We're so focused on who we're not serving yet that we consider it a failure. It's a failure because only 8 people watch that video, or 100 people watch that video, or 8,000 people, like whatever failure is for you, or only 8 people bought my product or service, or only 2 people hired me for my coaching, or like whatever failure looks like for you. We're focused on who we're not serving instead of who we are. And the who we're not serving game never gets old because there's always more people to serve. If you only focus on who you're not serving, you stay stuck. You're never happy. So if my main channel has 3 million subscribers, why is it not 4? And why is it not 5 or 7 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 100, right? Like, why is it not bigger? Why is it not out there? If I only focused on that, then I would always be unhappy and unfulfilled. Where what I always did was, and maybe this is just gratitude or natural or thanking my parents or what I always focused on was, it could be ignorance too, honestly, that I didn't know things are possible. That's a very real case, but I focused on who I was serving instead of who I wasn't. That if 50 people watched my video, that's 50 people who watched that video. How cool is that? 50 people watch my video, right? right? If you're giving a speech in front of 50 people, you'd be excited that 50 people are here, but because it's online, it feels like we're a total failure. When I go and I started a new live streaming channel, evancarmichael.live, where I do an hour of gaming, 3 to 4 times a week, and 6 people might be there live. It's not, oh, I'm a total failure. It's like, hey, there's 6 people here. Let's have fun. Let's serve these 6 people. Whether I'm helping 6 people on a live gaming channel or I'm helping 6,000 people at an event, it's still serving. It's still helping. And when you're serving a ton of people, you can do it in a light way. And when you're serving 6 people, you can do it in a much deeper way. But when you focus on who you are helping instead of who you're not, it makes you feel like you're valuable. It makes you feel like what you're doing is important and that it matters. And that, at the end of the day, is the most important thing. It's not about hitting the New York Times bestseller list or getting 1 million subscribers or having $1 million hit your bank account. Like, those are momentary periods of joy, but what you really want is to feel like what you do matters, that your work means something to somebody, that you're going to wake up today and do something that's going to have an impact on somebody else's life. And the more that you can consistently connect with that, the more you'll be inspired and motivated to keep going. And the more you feel like it doesn't matter, that's when you fall off the path. That's when you feel like a failure because you have failed. Now you are a failure yourself as a human. That's the mind loop that we get stuck in. And so when you can focus on somebody's getting value from this, somebody is learning from this, somebody's improving their lives because of this, and what I'm doing is important. And it's not where I want to be yet, and I'm never going to be where I want to be. Like, when you hit that point of where you want it to be, now you want to get somewhere else, right? So that's good, and that's growth, and that's progress. We want to continually be progressing and learning and improving and just getting better as humans. We want that. And when you can look back and say, holy cow, I've grown so much, I've gotten so much better, and I'm helping people. I'm having a big impact even on a few people's lives, that this is meaningful to them. When you can do that, it gives you the motivation, incentive to keep going. You're not a failure. And it's only a failure if you stop, if you quit. As long as you wake up every day and keep the momentum going, taking one more small step, no matter how seemingly small or insignificant it feels, but you wake up every day and take another step to serve others that's in alignment with your mission. When you look back on the past year, if you did that every day, you'd be amazed by how much growth you've done, how many lives you've impacted, and how much happier you are as a human. It's only a failure if you quit.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
If you want to see my one-on-one with Naveen, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Self-belief comes from self-love, right? The minute you fall in love with yourself is the day the world will fall in love.
Good morning, guys. Today, in our top 10 rules for success, we're introduced to Oprah Winfrey. She, for most of us, needs no explanation, but for those of us that don't know her, she has come from a background that many of us can't even imagine. So she was born into poverty in Mississippi to a teenage mom, and she has risen to become one of the greatest philanthropists in human history. And she tells us today, and it stands out for me, this quote, that we all deeply want to express the highest form of our humanity, of ourselves. So that's the truest need and desire for all of us, is to express that highest form of human expression. And to do that, we have to work hard. It takes a lot of hard work, but we have to align ourselves with correct principles. So we have to constantly be working at finding what are correct principles and aligning our values with that. So I hope we do that each and every moment. Have a great day, everybody.
If the person's doing the vision board and they're saying, when I get my new car, I get my new house, I get my new relationship, then I'm going to feel so great. Now, well, then they're back to the program, waiting for it to happen for them to feel the emotion. They're believing their outer world has to change in order for them to feel better. There's no effect of drawing the experience to you with that way. So the person has to use those tools to get them into the emotional state for them to feel like it's already happened. Now think about this. If you get up from a creative process and you feel grateful, you feel a love for life, you feel a joy for existence, you feel a passion for the moment, you will not be looking for your future, because you'll feel like it's already happened. It's the moment that we start feeling those self-limiting emotions that we feel separation, and then we start looking for it again. And well, then if you're waiting, you're not creating, you're in separation again. So then whatever it takes for you to move into a state of being. And what is a state of being? Thoughts are the vocabulary of the brain. Feelings are the vocabulary of your body. How you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So then if you wake up in the morning and you come back to your senses with a clean slate and you say, I don't feel anything, and you say, well, let me start thinking about all the problems in my life. Well, all those problems are connected to different people or different objects or things at different times and places. The moment you remember your problems, a memory is a record of the past. You're thinking in the past. Every one of those problems has an emotion associated with them. So all of a sudden you start feeling unhappy, you start feeling bitter, you start feeling frustrated. So now your body's in the past. So then most people then create a state of being that's connected to their past. And if they're in the familiar past, then they are going to crave the predictable future and they're going to fall back into routine. So then we want people then to get very clear on that vision of their future, however they do it, and begin to combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion. And the stronger the emotion they feel from the vision they're creating, the more altered they feel inside of them, the more they're going to pay attention to the pictures in their mind. And now they're remembering their future. And biologically, it's exactly the same as remembering your past. In fact, if you're not being defined by a vision in the future, it means you're making your past more real than your future. You're falling in love with your past. You're more in love with your past than you are with your future. That you're believing in your past more than you're believing in your future. When you get to that moment where you have that feeling, that's your compass, because that feeling is going to drive your behaviors. It's going to drive more of those thoughts. And when you feel that feeling and it's visceral, no person, no thing, no experience will stand in the way between you and that vision. And you will be initiated by the universe into wealth. You will be initiated into health. You'll be initiated into freedom. Those people, all those people that have healed themselves of all those different health conditions, they are so humble and so happy, and they feel so great that they would never trade this feeling because of what you thought of them. They've left that program behind a long time ago. They actually don't care how you think of them. They actually are so happy with themselves that they're no longer dependent on anything outside of them. Now, I think that's a really important moment, because that's the moment we give people permission in our lives to do the same, right? And I think that more and more people are beginning to figure that out.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back: a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know you've got something more inside you. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn how you can manifest and use vision boards. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is think positive with Bruce Lipton.
If I have a picture of fear in my mind, I'm afraid of something, My brain translates fear with different chemicals, stress hormones, cortisol, norepinephrine, factors that affect the immune system that are called cytokines or histamine. So basically, in a state of conscious fear, the brain releases chemistry that complements fear. That chemistry goes into the body's blood, and that changes the behavior and the genetics of the person. So that means there's a difference between having positive thoughts and having negative thoughts. And people say, oh, that positive thinking doesn't really work, but that's not true. The best example of positive thinking in a scientific study is called placebo. You have a disease and the doctor says, here's this new pill and it's the brand new science and it's going to cure you, and you believe it. And you take the pill and you get well. Then you find out the pill was a sugar pill. So then you're left with, so what made me well? It's not the sugar pill. It was the positive belief in that sugar pill and how it's going to help your life. So that's called placebo, positive thinking, positive result. Unfortunately, most people don't recognize a more important point. Negative thinking is equally powerful, but it works in the opposite direction. So it turns out, for example, less than 10% of cancer is even connected to a family lineage. 90% of cancer just comes out of the blue, so to speak. But the reality is no, it's a result of stress and negative thinking. So it's an important point. Positive thinking, negative thinking, equally powerful because that's the level of consciousness that is translated into the chemistry that controls your genetics. I just want to add a very important point to this. Quantum physics is the most valid science on this planet. There is no science that has been tested more and verified more. And I go, so what's the relevance? Because the primary principle in quantum physics is consciousness is creating our life experiences. And well, when you add epigenetics to that physics, now we understand the mechanism of how consciousness is controlling our biology. So biology and physics are coming together to reveal that we are very powerful creators of our lives.
Rule number 3, create a vision board with John Assaraf.
Whenever I want to create anything, whether it's my physical body, a home, a car, a trip, there's a big part of our brain called the occipital lobe, back of our brain. Even when light comes in through our eyes, right, cells in the back of our brain activate and an image pops up in our brain. And that image that pops up into our brain is connected to the motivational center and the thinking center part of our brain. So if a negative image pops up, we reduce our motivation and we don't take action. And then we reinforce that pattern. But let's say I have an image of something that I really want, something that inspires me, then as soon as I pop up that image in my brain, I actually release dopamine. Yeah. Okay, the reward neurochemical in my brain that actually creates motivation, that's actually tied to what I call as the Einstein part of the brain that can actually help you figure out how to achieve that thing. And so I create images of what is it that I want to create for health, wealth, relationships, career, business, charity, fun, and experiences so that I can activate the reward circuits in my brain, the motivational circuits in my brain, the thinking centers in my brain to help me figure out how to achieve it. But the other purpose of a vision board is to give your brain the instruction of this is the stuff that's important to me that I want to create, do, be, have, or give.
Right.
So, we all have, 50,000 thoughts a day. We all have so much with social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Clubhouse or whatever, all the different, stations and channels are and the people that want to gather our attention. Well, why don't we become better at focusing our attention on what we want to trade our life for? Right? Because when somebody is pulling us to look at their stuff, right? We're part of their goals and dreams and their vision versus me being focused on what is it that I want to trade my life for and instructing my brain, help me find ways to trade my life for these things. And that's how to use your brain properly versus your brain using you because it may not have been conditioned properly with the right beliefs and focus and awareness and habits.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 4, prime your imagination with Bob Proctor.
Most people use their imagination, they use it the wrong way. They imagine what won't work. They imagine something bad happening.
What should we imagine more often every day?
We should imagine you should see yourself where you want to be. You got to live there. There's a great book. You may be familiar with Stella Adler's book, The Art of Acting. Oh gosh, you got to get it. Stella Adler was a great acting teacher. She was a method acting teacher. She studied under Stanislavski, the Russian acting teacher that originated method acting.
Okay.
Marlon Brando wrote the foreword in her book. He was the first method actor to reach superstardom.
Okay.
And he wrote the foreword in her book. Now, Stella Adler never actually wrote a book. A man named Kissel took all of her teaching, all of her lessons for teaching, and he put them into a book. So when you read her book, you're going to her acting classes. And like Shakespeare said, we're all actors, the world's a stage, and that's true. Well, when you reach a goal, you got to act like you're already there. It's already happened intellectually the second you think about it. It's already happened emotionally when you're emotionally involved with it. So it's only a period of time until it manifests in physical form.
Right.
But because it's not in physical form, we act like we haven't got it yet.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why most people stay stuck, because they're acting like they haven't got it yet. Or if I can't act like that, Lewis would see that I haven't got that result, he'll think I'm phony. I got to quit worrying about what Lewis thinks and start concentrating on what Bob thinks. And so you see yourself, your imagination, you got to be that person. Goethe said that, great philosopher. He said, before you can do something, you first must be something. So you've got to be it intellectually. You've got to be it emotionally. It's like Solomon says, as a person thinks within their heart, the emotional mind. Well, it's only a period of time then until it manifests physically. That's one of the first laws of the universe. It's a perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is moving into form, always. To form, moving into form, through form, back into form again. So we cause it all to happen the way we think and the way we stay locked into ideas.
How should people be developing their imagination on a daily basis in a positive way?
Well, I think they should take time to image what they want. I have a business partner, Sandy Gallagher, who's a brilliant woman, and she rides horses, gaited horses. And she's in Kentucky right now in big shows there. She images herself as a world champion. Every day, she takes the time and she sees herself as a world champion. She sees herself getting the roses, getting the whole thing. And that's the way you should do it. I think you build the image of what you want. I mean, you obviously imaged this studio before you ever built it.
Right.
I mean, everything you see here was part of the image in your mind. But everything you create twice. Once in here, once out here. So you never get an original painting. You always get a duplicate. The picture's in here.
Wow.
So we have to see ourselves with what we want here. Now we've got enormous deterrent in our paradigm. We're conditioned genetically and environmentally. And that conditioning is controlling most people's lives. That's why brilliant people are broke. Brilliant people are unhappy. Brilliant people never really accomplish very much. They're absolutely brilliant, but their paradigm is controlling them. It's all about intellect. They're smart people. But you got to consider where we come from. A little particle of energy from mom, a little particle of energy from dad comes swimming along. That's the nucleus of us. Then that goes on for 280 days, attracting more energy until you make your debut on the planet. And then you're programmed environmentally by your environment. So everything that's going on is going right into your subconscious mind. So you come out, you're programmed genetically. We don't know how far it goes back, 4 or 5 generations possibly. Like when I was a young man, I had red hair. My mother didn't have red hair. My dad didn't have red hair. I got a brother and sister, and they don't have red hair. Because you think, well, but my mother's father and all his brothers had red hair. So sometimes it jumps a generation. That's why we look like our relatives. It's genetic conditioning. And then there's environmental conditioning. We know almost all welfare recipients are 4th, 5th generation welfare recipients. So this is passed down from generation to generation. Now, unfortunately, we're all exactly the same. We got exactly the same potential. Our spiritual DNA is perfect.
Rule number 5, recondition your mind with Greg Braden.
I think one of the things that we're beginning to understand, we have been conditioned for a couple of generations now to see the human body as a flawed organism. Carbon-based life in general, and the human body specifically, is somehow flawed. And because it is flawed, that we need to build things outside of us that will help us to become the best versions of ourselves, to become achieve our greatest potentials, whether it's athletics or whether it's mental or emotional capabilities, all of these things. So this is the path that technology is following very, very quickly. And what we're seeing is that the technology has advanced faster than the morality of how we apply it in our lives. And I'll just give you a perfect example of what I mean by that. A couple of years ago, scientific papers began describing the ability to edit the DNA of a fetus inside the womb of a living woman, just the way you would edit a document in a word processor on the computer. So on a word processor, you can add or delete words, you can highlight an entire paragraph, cut it, paste it somewhere else. We now have editors where the genes come up on the computer screen and you can highlight and delete and merge and remove and rearrange genes in the DNA of a living organism to optimize and perfect that organism while it's still in the womb, before it's ever born. And the question is, whose idea of what is optimum do we begin to use to do something like that? Well, this was all theory. They were doing it in the lab till 2018. In 2018, there was a Chinese scientist that very proudly said, holding the baby in his arms, "Here are our first gene-edited human babies." He had done in real life what had been done in the laboratory and in theory and in tests. And the scientific community came down on him like a ton of bricks.
Really?
Because they said, wait a minute, just because we can doesn't mean that we should. And we see this time and time again with technology, where the technology advances. Just because we can implant a computer chip into the human brain that connects us with the hard drive of our computer with no wires, no keyboards, and allows us to download information, does that mean that we should? And we cannot answer those things, Danica, until we begin to understand who we are. So this is the way science works. The discoveries are pushing science to understand who we are. And what they are discovering is a mind blower, because what they're, I'll just say it and then we can unpack it. What they're discovering, I'm going to say it like this. We have yet to discover any technology built outside of the human body that does not mimic what we already do in the cells and the neurons and the organs of our body, except we do it better. We are what is called a soft technology. So rather than thinking of a hard computer chip and wires and chemicals, we're talking about neurons and fluids, ion potentials moving across the membranes of cell walls and crystalline bone structure. And when we begin to understand what that means, And the ability, our innate ability to self-regulate this technology, that's the mind blower. Because what it says is that, yeah, we can do these things in the technology, but the technology maybe is reminding us of who we are to push us in that evolutionary direction.
And rule number 6, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is do positive affirmations with Louise Hay.
To begin with, you start by doing what we call doing affirmations, and that is making positive statements about your life that are positive, and you do them deliberately. You might do them in the morning, you might do them at noon, you might do them at night, you might do them, twice a day or whatever. But you do this and you let this become a habit. And as you start to do them, things will begin to change, maybe on a very small level. I call it getting the green lights in the parking places. I mean, they're not huge things in your life, but it can be very nice when you get 3 green lights in a row and you're in a hurry. Doing an affirmation is either writing it down, writing it on the wall or the mirror, or using just saying it. What I like people to do is to stand in front of a mirror and do their affirmations. Because there's something very powerful about looking in your own eyes and accepting yourself, or noticing that you reject yourself when you're saying something positive about yourself. So that would be a very beginning way to start. Say in the morning, you get up in the morning, you go to the mirror, and this is a big one, and it's hard for lots of people. But you look in the mirror and say, I love you. I really, really love you. And to begin with, that can be so hard for people because they think of all the things that they think are wrong with them. But if you can start your day saying that, it's very powerful. Remember, I'd like to think the universe is listening to everything you say and everything you think and saying, okay, you can get that. So then it starts to bring you in and bring things into you. And I know this sounds far-fetched, but it's amazing how it works. If you do a good general positive statement for yourself, the universe will figure out how to manifest that, how to bring that about in your life. So things could happen that you wouldn't expect at all, but they will happen. If you think of doing your positive affirmations is like planting a seed in the ground. It's not necessarily true at the moment, but it is something you want to have be true. So you put the seed in, and you plant a seed and you expect it to grow. Or you maybe plant 3 seeds just in case. You expect them to grow. And you don't wait 2 days and then dig in the earth and say, what's happening, what's happening? You expect that thing to grow because you know there's a law and a process. And the seed will grow if it is in the right soil and it has the right amount of moisture. Making it really a habit and doing it every day, doing something every morning when you wake up, that's a really good time. And another good time is when you go to sleep at night.
Good morning, guys. Today I want to focus on the living aspect of our path to infinite mind wealth, that freedom, peace, and happiness we all desire. And I want to share a personal story with you, and I hope it inspires you, because my deepest wish and desire in doing what I'm doing every day is for myself to be aligned with correct principles and find that freedom, peace, and happiness, but more importantly, to show you, wherever you are, no matter what you're going through, that it's possible to every single day face some of your doubts, fears, insecurities, and control this to live the life that you want. And I can tell you, in doing this each and every day, and I am so grateful for you, all of you that have given me your time and attention, it's value that I want to bring to you, but it's value, of course, that I want to bring to myself, and I can tell you it works. And I've realized all the fears, doubts, and insecurities, they're all in our mind. I can feel them being broken down every day. So I hope that inspires you. Have a great day, everybody.
Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment.
I just can't live my life based upon what other people think about me.
You don't have to compromise yourself. You know, if it's something you don't feel good about, then don't do it.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 to 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 to 9. This one's for my top 10.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So get ready to make a difference, ignore the opinions of others, and stick to your guns with Denzel Washington and my take on his top 10 rules of success to give you the confidence, belief, and motivation that you need. Okay, let's kick it off with rule #1. Dreams need goals.
Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency. I pray that you all put your shoes way under the bed at night so that you got to get on your knees in the morning.
Rule #2, aspire to make a difference.
Anything you want good, you can have. So claim it. Work hard to get it. When you get it, reach back. Pull someone else up. Each one, teach one. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference.
Rule #3, ignore the opinions of others.
You don't pay a lot of attention to reviews and those kind of things?
Well, you know, you're always affected by opinion, but the more opinions there are of you, of me, the less I look at them, because I just can't live my life based upon what other people think about me. So I can't concern myself too much with what other people think. You know, it's just not healthy. I don't think I could continue to do what I do if I was constantly worrying about what somebody thought about it.
Rule #4, stick to your guns.
You don't have to compromise yourself. You know, if it's something you don't feel good about, then don't do it. The most important choices I've made was to say no. And I've said no many a time to films that I just didn't, especially early on, I just didn't feel comfortable with. There was one script that was brought to me, I called it The Nigga They Couldn't Kill. Because they were like, he was accused of raping this white woman in the 40s, and they tried to hang him, but he didn't die. And then they tried to electrocute him, and they were like, it's a comedy. I'm like, it ain't funny to me. So I actually called Sidney Poitier, who I was fortunate at that time to be able to call. And I said, you know, this movie, I'm sick. And they offered me $600,000 to play the nigga they couldn't kill. That's what I called it. I wasn't there. And he said to me, and I'll say this to you, he said, the first 2 or 3 or 4 films you make in this industry, Denzel, will determine how you proceed. He said, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but remember that the first 3 or 4 or 5 films you made will determine how you proceed. I turned it down. I turned money down. I needed the money. I turned it down. 6 months later, I got Cry of Freedom. So stick to your guns. If you don't feel like you should do it, then don't do it. Because you don't want to be, you don't want to be a negative energy on the set. That's how I feel. So I'm like, I ain't doing this because I'm gonna slap somebody the second day. So I just, it's something. I think the most important decisions you can make as an actor, actress, is saying no. Is saying no. You don't have to take your clothes off. If you don't want to, then don't do it.
Also, if you want to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. They're free. The link to join are in the description below.
If you're looking for an excuse, you'll find one. In race. You can find it wherever you like.
Your son got shot in the face, that's difficult. Making a movie is a luxury. It's a gift.
Fail big. That's right. Fail big. You only live once. So do what you feel passionate about.
Rule number 5, bring your dreams to life.
My wife told me this great expression. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. Les Brown's a motivational speaker. He made an analogy about this. He says, imagine you're on your deathbed, and standing around your deathbed are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. The ghost of the ideas you never acted on. The ghost of the talents you didn't use. And they're standing around your bed, angry, disappointed, and upset. They say, we came to you because you could have brought us to life, they say. And now we have to go to the grave together. So I ask you today, how many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes?
Rule number 6, share your gift.
You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I'll say it again. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Now, I've been blessed to make hundreds of millions of dollars in my life. I can't take it with me, and neither can you. So it's not how much you have, it's what you do with what you have. And we all have different gifts. Some money, some love, some patience, some the ability to touch people. But we all have it. Use it. Share it. That's what counts. Not what you're driving, not what you're flying in, not what kind of house you bought your mama, but buy your mama a house.
Rule number 7, work hard.
The one thing I'm the most happy about in terms of my career is the fact that I got there with the grace of God, first of all, but short of that, I got there just by working hard, not partying with the right people, not compromising myself in any way or cutting any kind of deals, just by working hard, just by plugging along, sawing wood, as I like to call it. I'm a 20-year overnight sensation.
Rule number 8, fall forward.
I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, there is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living. Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything except my faith. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Fall forward. This is what I mean. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success.
Rule number 9, take what's useful.
Bruce Lee, studied many martial arts. Bruce Lee fan. And he always said, take what's useful. So I've taken from different styles, and my youngest daughter, Olivia, is an actress now. She's at NYU. In fact, she just finished her first movie with Lee Daniels. Yeah. She's good. And I tell her that, there is no one discipline, there is no one gospel when it comes to acting. So I take a little from this, take a little from that.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is tell great stories.
I had breakfast with Archbishop Desmond Tutu and lunch with Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
And actually, when he came to the States, the last time he came to California, came to our house.
Well, that's pretty good. Now, see,
I'll tell you a funny story too. He'll be mad at me for telling this, but I'll tell it anyway. Sylvester Stallone, he lives up in the, we're like in the gay community. He lives over there, and he wasn't invited. I would have invited him, but we had about maybe 40, 50 people there, you know. And I had my children. I said, you can invite one friend, and you know, Oprah Winfrey, different people were there. And the security, they had security helicopters like it was the president. They're like, Mr. Washington, Rocky's out front. He's pacing. he's like looking in the gate. I said, he's like, should we let him in? I'm like, yeah, let Sylvester come in. They said he was outside looking sad. Like, man. Can you see Rocky?
Yo, Mr. Mandela, how you doing?
Mr. Mandela, how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing? Yo, Adrian. It's Mandela here. It's Mandela over here.
Now I have a bonus clip on how to not quit that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1. Whose opinions do you need to stop listening to? Number 2, what's the gift that you have that you need to share? And number 3, how can you add some goals to your dreams to make them more clear? And if you like this video and promise you take action after watching it, we don't just watch videos, we take action. Put a hashtag believe down in the comments below, make that promise to yourself, and then get to work.
You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. There's no doubt about it. And I know that's probably not a traditional message for a graduation ceremony, but hey, I'm telling you, embrace it because it's inevitable. And I should know. In the acting business, you fail all the time. Early on in my career, I auditioned for a part in a Broadway musical. Perfect role for me, I thought, except for the fact that I can't sing. So I'm in the wings, I'm about to go on stage, but the guy in front of me, he's singing like Pavarotti. He's just, and he's just going on and on and on. And I'm just shrinking, I'm getting smaller and smaller. So they say, oh, thank you very much, and you'll be hearing from us. So I come out with my little sheet music, and it was Just My Imagination by the Temptations. That's what I came up with. So I hand it to the accompanist, and she looks at it and looks at me and looks out at the director and was like, all right. So I start, you know, I'm going to sing. I'm like, it's just my imagination once again, and they're coming away with me. And they're not saying anything, so I'm thinking I'm getting better. So I just start getting into it. It was just my imagination. Running. They say, oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Washington. Thank you. So I assumed I didn't get the job. But the next part of the audition, he called me back. The next part of the audition is the acting part of the audition. So I'm like, hey, okay, maybe I can't sing, but I know I can act. So they pair me with this guy, and again, I didn't know about musical theater. And musical theater is big, so they can reach everyone all the way in the back of the stadium. And I'm more from a realistic, naturalistic kind of acting where you actually talk to the person next to you. So I don't know what my line was. My line was, well, hand me the cup. And his line was, well, I will hand you the cup, my dear. The cup will be there to be handed to you. I said, oh, okay. Well, should I give you the cup back? Oh, yes, you should give it back to me because you know that is my cup and it should be given back to me. I didn't get the job. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I didn't fall back. I walked out of there to prepare for the next audition, and the next audition, and the next audition. I prayed. I prayed, and I prayed. But I continued to fail, and fail, and fail. But it didn't matter, because you know what? There's an old saying, you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. So you will catch a break, and I did catch a break. Last year, I did a play called Fences on Broadway. Someone talked about it. Won the Tony Award. And I didn't have to sing, by the way. But here's the kicker. It was at the Court Theater. It was at the same theater that I failed that first audition 30 years prior. The point is, and I'll pick up the pace, the point is every graduate here today has the training and the talent to succeed. But do you have the guts to fail?
If you want to see the top 10 I did on Will Smith, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?